So, but the fact of the matter is everyone you've spoken to had no idea that actually this was shared to the 3 senior party leaders as of 7th and 8th of...
I think we established that nobody knew.
So, indeed. And in your mind, this is in no way material. There's no need for anyone. And even if you were to determine that, even if you were to determine that this was immaterial, at least should this fact have been put forward to the CEC, to key members before they get feedback?
So let me be clear. I think that there are, in fact, circumstances in which it would have been material.
I'm not asking you in what circumstances. I'm saying in this particular case, are you echoing the same view that actually it is irrelevant or not relevant?
As I explained to you, I don't know how many times I would need to repeat myself. If, for instance, she had planned to subsequently come clean with that information, if there was a plan to subsequently confess, then I think that the fact that they knew that she had confessed to them in advance would not have been material. But if that was not the case, if instead they had told her to lie, then that suppression of that fact
But the fact of the matter is, who determines this truth?
I don't know about who determines the truth. The truth is, in fact, out there. Is what we are trying to do, is to uncover the truth. So you have not answered the question. So the question I have for you, quite straightforward, is that should this be something that should have been surfaced so that the CEC members or so that the other party members can decide for themselves whether it is relevant or irrelevant? As I explained at the beginning, I trust that the leadership would have put all the material facts on the table.
So in your view, the fact that they did not surface this to the CEC, nor surface it to anyone else when seeking their feedback on Ms. Khan, and of which some of the feedback and adverse feedback and or lack of support would then also have some bearing on the final actions taken against her, you feel that because they made a call not to let all of you know about the fact that she had divulged this on the 7th and 8th, therefore it is irrelevant for everyone else to know.
I already...
Would that be correct? Would that be correct?
You said a lot of things. So yes. Which part is correct? As I explained to you...
The part that they had already assessed that this was irrelevant and you trusted your leaders, and therefore if they deemed it irrelevant, then there's no need for the rest of you to actually know those details. Because whatever hypothetical scenarios you have painted is actually, it's not obvious to anyone because you don't know of those scenarios. But because they're determined that, therefore, that's good enough for you that you don't need to know. Even now, in hindsight, knowing what you do know, you feel that it's perfectly fine.
In fact, what you just said, now in hindsight, ex post facto, even now when we sit here, I think whether it was material or not, we would have difficulty establishing that unless we knew the actual truth. If the truth was that they told her to suppress it,
so
that
we
would
are
have been material.
So we are trying to determine what that truth is.
Yes.
But you have already stated that actually you trust the leadership and that it is irrelevant.
And
we are trying to determine that.
It is only reasonable, subject to the context, which is if it was material, then, and I even gave you like a very precise example of when it would be material.
I'm asking you for a straightforward answer to understand how a particular member of the CEC views this.
Mr. Chair, I'm not trying to be evasive. I am trying to genuinely answer you based on the way that I perceive the nature of your question. And the way I perceive the nature of your question is what you're asking me, whether I think it was relevant for me for that information to have been shared. My honestly heartfelt response is that it would only be relevant if it was, and it should only have been shared if it was indeed material. You can think, and I even tried to concretize that.
So who decides whether it's material?
The materiality of it would depend on what actually transpired.
So who decides on what's material? I'm asking you for a decision, a perspective. You say it depends on this, it depends on that. So I'm asking you, therefore, on whether it's material. So I'm asking you, who decides whether it's material?
If I were the leadership and I told her that she would ultimately need to share this information,
Share what information?
that she had spoken an untruth in Parliament, and that if I, again, it's a hypothetical, but if I had told her that she had to come clean ultimately, but I was now giving her space, then not Pritam, but I would think that it would not be material to share the information.